welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle Ferguson and I'm the crochet pattern designer of Two Brothers Blankets. Today we are crocheting the Maxwell sweater. This is the women's version. The workup is the same for both the men's and the women's. It'll just be different stitch counts and number of rows and things like that. But the workup is the same. For this pattern, you're going to need a fingering weight yarn. I'm using Stroll fingering from We Crochet. This is a 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. I'm using the color Candy Pink for the women's version. And I have my crochet hook. I'm using a G 4mm Furl Streamline wood hook. I'll link it in the description. You will also need the written pattern. I will be making a size small, and the pattern will give you the instructions for all the rest of the sizes. Like I said, the workup is the same. Just sizing and stitch counts and all that will be different. So you'll need to refer to the written pattern for that information. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, before we get started with our sweater, I want to make a point to remind you to check your gauge. Gauge is going to be really important for this project, and it's going to be really important that you meet both height and width for your gauge. So there's a gauge swatch pattern in the pattern itself that will tell you how many steps and how many stitches and rows you need to do in each step for the gauge swatch. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to measure, and you want your square to measure as close as possible to 4 inches by 4 inches. Normally I would only say the width is most important because you can adjust the length, but our sweater is going to be vertical like this. Our stitches are going to be vertical like this. So rows is going to determine our width. So the number of rows needs to be correct because that's going to determine the width of the sweater. Then the length is determined by the number of stitches rather than rows. So that's a little bit easier to adjust in this case. So you definitely want to get your rows to equal 4 inches, your number of rows in that gauge swatch pattern, and then get it as close as possible to 4 inches. If you cannot get both, it's going to be more important for you to get the number of rows correct in the 4 inches with the hook size that you need to use. And then it tells you in the pattern notes that you can adjust the length by multiples of 2 plus 1 when you're doing your starting chain. Also to note, you will be adding a trim at the bottom. That's going to add, I think, about 1.5 inches. I need to double check, but it's going to add about 1.5 inches to your project. So keep that in mind when you're doing your length, which is your number of stitches, but make sure you get those rows correctly. The number of rows, I believe it is 14. Let me double check. Yes. So make sure you're getting 14 rows in 4 inches for your height so that the width of the sweater will be correct. So with that said, I have lots of tutorials and stuff on checking gauge, and I have a checking gauge cheat sheet that you can sign up for. I'll make sure that all that is linked in the description if you want to work on that a little bit before you start your project. Otherwise, let's go ahead and start the sweater. Okay, I am going to be making a size small sweater. We are working side to side. So we're working in 2 panels. We're going to start with our front panel. Our front panel is going to have the shoulders. Then we're going to decrease and increase to make our V, and then the shoulder again. So we're starting out with just the shoulder panel, which will all be one length, the same number of stitches for a certain amount, and then we're going to start decreasing. So we're working side to side. I am going to start by chaining 105 to start my front panel. Okay, once we have 105 chains, I'm going to do a half double crochet in the second chain from my hook and in each chain across. I always like to work in the back bump. I just like the way it looks better, personal preference. And I'm going to do 1 in each chain, and I'll have 104 half double crochet when I get to the end of my row. All right, I've completed the first row of, I have 104 half double crochets. Now I'm ready for row 2, which is a chain 1, turn my work, and do 1 half double crochet in each stitch across. This is now the right side, so our even numbered rows are the right side, and we're just doing 1 half double crochet in each stitch across. All right, I've completed row 2, and now we're ready for row 3. So this is where our stitches change a bit. I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. It says to do 1 extended half double crochet in the 3rd loop of each stitch across. So if you see here, we've got our 2 loops at the top of our stitches, right? The 3rd loop is this horizontal bar right here on the side. You'll turn it, it should be facing you. You're going to turn it and you'll see it on the side. It's this 3rd loop right here. So there's 2 up here and then there's a 3rd one on the side right here. That's the one you're going to work into. So I chained 1, turn my work. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook in that 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up the loop. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 1, 3 loops on my hook again, yarn over and pull through. So I'm just working into that 3rd loop. I'm going to do it again, yarn over, insert my hook into the 3rd loop, yarn over, pull up my loop, yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. That is my extended half double crochet stitch, and I'm working it in the 3rd loop only. And I'm going to do that all the way across. Okay, I've completed row 3. This is the wrong side. It just looks very flat and plain. But when you turn it over to the right side, you have this raised ridge of your stitches. And that's from the 3rd, working in the 3rd row, and gives it a really nice texture. So that is why we do it in the 3rd row. So this is facing the right side. I am going to do row 4, chain 1, turn. I'm back facing the right side. And we're just going to do 1 extended half double crochet in each stitch across. So we're working in the top loops for this row. And we're doing 1 extended half double in each stitch across. Okay, I've completed row 4. Now for row 5, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and do 1 regular half double crochet in each stitch across. So just our normal half double for this row. Okay, I've completed row 5. And now we are doing a repeat of rows 2 through 5. So for this size small, I'm going to be doing rows 6 through 17, and they will be a repeat of rows 2 through 5. So I'm going to do another row of half double, and then 2 rows of my extended half double, and so on. So I'm going to do rows 6 through 17 off camera, repeating rows 2 through 5, and then we'll be ready to get ready to start our decreasing. All right, we've worked 17 rows. I'm facing the wrong side. For now, you're going to go into the size you are making. And for some sizes, you're going to do additional rows, additional repeats of like 2 more rows or whatnot. But for this size small, we're not doing any more repeats before we begin our decreasing. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And I am going to do 1 half double crochet in the first 83 83 stitches. So 1 half double in each stitch for 83 stitches, and I'm going to be leaving 21 unworked. All right, I've done 83 half double crochet. I have 21 unworked here. We're just going to leave that. That's for our shoulder area. And we don't want to be starting our decreases way up top here. So for the next row, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. We are going to do 1 decrease, and our decrease is going to be a half double crochet 2 together. So I am going to yarn over, insert my hook in that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, insert hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 5 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 5 loops. That is going to be our decrease for every single row, no matter what the main stitch is. We're going to do a half double crochet 2 together. So for the rest of our row, we're going to be doing 1 extended half double in the back loop, in the third loop for each stitch across, all the way to the bottom. All right, I've completed this row. We've got our decrease and then our extended half doubles. So now we're going to chain 1, turn, and we're going to work our way back up to the top. And in the last 2, so we're going to do 1 extended half double crochet stitch in both loops of your stitches all the way across to the last 2 stitches. And when we get to the last 2, we will then be doing a decrease. Okay, I'm at my last 2 stitches. I'm going to do a regular half double crochet 2 together for my decrease. Like so. And so now we are going to continue on decreasing once at the top here for every stitch. We're still following the pattern that we did in our shoulders with the half double crochet, 2 extended half double crochet rows, and then a half double crochet row again. We're continuing to follow that. For this size, we're going to work till row 32. We'll have 69 stitches. And once we get to that point, we will work our way back up to create the V. So I'm going to do up to row 32 now, and then I'll show you what it looks like and how to go back up by increasing to our other shoulder. All right, I've completed through row 33. I have 68 stitches. Now we are going to be working the back up, the top of our V. So we're going to be increasing. So for this row, I'm chaining 1, turning my work. I'm working back up towards it. So I'm going to do 1 half double crochet stitch in each stitch across until I get to the last stitch. All right, I'm at the last stitch. I'm increasing now, so I'm going to do 2 half double crochet stitches in the last stitch. So now I have 69 stitches. I increased by 1 stitch, and we are going to continue that pattern until we get back up to 83 stitches, row 48. So I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. I'm going to do 2 half double crochet stitches in the first stitch, and then I'm going to go on with my pattern of 1 extended half double in the third loop of each stitch across. And we are going to continue that following the stitch combo pattern of each row, increasing by 1 up here at the top until you get to row 48 and 83 stitches. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll show you how to get this the next shoulder part finished up, and then we'll be done with our first panel. Okay, I've made it to row 48 and I have 83 stitches. Now we need to chain to create our second shoulder. So for row 49, it says to chain 22. So I'm just going to do that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Okay? So see, we're going to create our shoulder. And then it says to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook and each chain and stitch across. So I'm going to start with my chains and I'm just going to do 1 half double crochet in the second chain from my hook and in each chain across. So I'll have 21 half double crochet in the chains, and then we'll do it down the bottom as well. So we'll be back to a total of 104 stitches. Okay, this is what it will look like at this point. It's okay if this seems a little wonky. It'll even out, and we are going to add a little trim here too. So don't worry too much about your V-neck. Now we are going to do our same pattern that we've been doing for rows 50 to 65. So we're going to finish up and we're going to do our second shoulder just like we did our first, following the stitch combo pattern. This is the wrong side. And then we will have even shoulders on the side once we get to row 65 for this size. Check the pattern, see where you need to go to for whatever size you're making. And then we'll finish off and I'll show you how to do the back panel, which is a lot easier than this one, and sew your pieces together. All right, I've completed the front panel. This is what it looks like. We've got our V-neck. It's okay if it's a little wonky looking because we're going to put a trim on it. But this is what our front panel looks like. For your back panel, you are going to do the exact same thing without the decreasing and increasing. So it's just going to be a big rectangle. You follow the instructions on the pattern. It's basically the shoulders, the parts where you do the shoulders, the same amount of stitches and everything, all the way across. So for size small, it's 104 stitches and 65 rows. So now I need to sew these panels together. I'm going to lay my bottom panel down with the right side facing me because we are going to sew it inside out and turn it back right side. So the top panel is going to go on top of the bottom panel with the right side facing away from me. So I'm going to have the wrong side facing out towards me. So both right sides are facing each other. And I'm going to line it up. If you need to block to measurements, you'll need to do that after you finish both panels. Block them to the same measurements if you need to. And so that when you line them up, they are the same size. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to count 30 down from the top, 30 stitches, and place a stitch marker because that's what we're sewing to. So we're going to start from the bottom and sew up to 74 stitches for this size, and there will be 30 left unworked, and that's going to be our armhole, and we're going to sew across the tops here at the shoulders. And so we'll have space unworked here for the armhole. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to place the stitch markers on the 30th stitch down from the top on each side. All right, I've marked both stitches with my stitch markers at stitch number 30. So now I am going to take my piece. Let me turn it so that you can see it. And I'm going to sew all the way up to that stitch marker. So let me get a long tail of yarn. And a yarn needle. I have a video on how to seam crochet pieces together. If you're unfamiliar with that, it shows 2 different stitches that you can use. I'm going to do the mattress stitch since we're working directly into stitches. So I'm going to go into both set of stitches on both panels to start and leave a decently long tail. And then I am going to start my mattress stitch. So working into one side and then the next. So I will link that video for you so that you can check out the 2 different ways you can seam it together, and it's a little bit more of a slower, closer up tutorial for you. But I'm going to do this all the way to the stitch marker. Just go all the way up through all the stitches, and then we'll do the shoulders. Okay, I've completed to the top here, to the stitch marker. I'm going to fasten off and do a little knot here just to keep it secure until we can weave in our ends. All right, and now we're going to do the exact same thing up top. At the shoulders, we don't have any stitches to work into, so we're just going to work across. I'm going to connect it here. And I think since we don't have any stitches to work into, I'm going to whip stitch here at the top. Just to be sure that it's good and secure. Along each row. All right, and we're just going to make sure we get all the way to the end. All right, flatten it out, make sure everything looks okay, make sure there's not any holes or spots you've missed, and then we can fasten off there as well. And we are going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and then we can turn it back to the right side. So I'm going to do that now off the camera, and then we will turn it back to the right side and get started on our sleeves. Okay, now that we have sewn everything together, we are ready to do our sleeves. As you can see, I've done one sleeve already, and this is what it looks like. So for the sleeve, we are just doing the extended half double crochet stitch all the way down. We're not working the same pattern as we did for the vertical rows here on the body of our sweater. So for this second armhole, I am going to take out my stitch marker, and then I'm going to join facing the wrong side, so the inside of the sweater, and join it to that corner where the stitch marker was. And then just leave a tail for weaving in ends. And then I'm going to chain one, and I'm going to do one extended half double crochet stitch and in each stitch, and I'm going to work all the way around until I get to the other side of the corner. In that other side where there's no stitches, I'm going to do 2 extended half double. So around total I have 60 stitches, and then we're going to work 2 extra in here. So we'll have a total of 62 stitches. So for now, just 1 extended half double in each stitch around. All right, and then I joined to the first stitch with a slip stitch. Now for round 2, I'm just going to chain 1, turn, I'm facing the right side now, and do 1 extended half double crochet stitch in each stitch around for 62 stitches. And then we are going to repeat round 2 all the way down the sleeve. So chain 1, turn 1 extended half double in each stitch around. And for size small, I'm doing 57 rows, and then we'll decrease and do our trim. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. 57 rows total, rounds total, not rows, rounds total of extended half double crochet stitches, and then we'll do our sleeve trim and do the trim for our neckline and bottom trim as well. Okay, I've completed the rounds for my sleeve, and now I'm ready to do some decreases to get ready for my trim, and that just brings it all in nicely. So what I'm going to do is chain 1, turn, I'm facing the right side. I'm going to do a single crochet 2 together over each 2 stitches around. So I'm going to insert my hook in the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Whoops. Pull up a loop. I've got 2 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that decreases my 2 stitches into 1 stitch. And I'm going to do that all the way around. So insert hook into the next, pull up a loop, insert hook into the next, pull up a loop, pull through all 3, all the way around. So this is basically going to cut the number of stitches in half for whatever size you're working before we start our trim. All right, I'm at the end of my round, so I now have 31 stitches for size small. I'm going to join to the first stitch with a slip stitch, and now we're ready to start our ribbing trim. Let me find the other. So this part right here is what we're going to do next. We're not going to fasten off or anything like that. We're just going to simply chain 11 stitches. 11, okay? And then I'm going to work in the back bump. I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from my hook. And then in each chain across. So I'm going to have 10 single crochet when I get back down to my sleeve. All right, and then once I'm down to the bottom, I'm going to slip stitch in the first 2 stitches of the sleeves that I just created. And that is my row 1. So I have 10 single crochet and I've slip stitched twice. Then I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the back loop only of the first stitch, and then in each stitch across until I get to the last one. So back loop only, single crochet. And then once I get to the last stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet in both loops, just to keep it nice and straight there. So that's row 2. Row 3, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work. I'm going to do 1 back loop only single crochet in each stitch across. So all 10 stitches are going to be 1 back loop only single crochet. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches of the sleeve for the end of my row 3. That's what it looks like. And then row 4 is a repeat of row 2, chain 1, turn my work, 1 back loop only single crochet in each stitch across until the last stitch, and then 1 single crochet in both loops of the last stitch and the last one. So now I'm going to repeat rows 3 and 4 all the way around my sleeve, and then I'm going to join the 2 ends together with a slip stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and work all those around, and then I'll show you how to join and fasten off, and we'll be doing the exact same thing for the bottom trim. So I'll do that now, and then I'll show you how to finish up your sweater. All right, I've worked all the way around the sleeve, and now I'm ready to join. So I've got my 2 ends here. And all I'm going to do is I've chained 1, and I'm going to slip stitch through both ends. So I'm going to go into both loops of the first stitch on both ends, and then just do a slip stitch to join them. So I'm going to do that with all 10 stitches. I'm just going to go in under both loops of each stitch and slip stitch to join them, just like so. Now I'm joined and I'm just going to fasten off, and I'll weave in these ends when I'm done. But now we have our ribbing trim completed, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom. Okay, for the bottom trim, we're facing the right side, and I'm at the side seam where we sewed our pieces together. And what I'm going to do is join my yarn to that first row closest to the seam. So here's my seam. I'm going to join right here. And I'm going to chain one. And it says to work 1 single crochet along the edge of each row around bottom of garment. Join with slip stitch to your first stitch. So for this size, I'm going to be doing 1 single crochet in each row around, and it's going to be a total of 130 single crochet. So I'm just working along the end of each row here. You can just kind of see where your rows are. And work your stitches. Okay, I have worked 130 single crochet around the bottom of my sweater and joined to the first stitch. So now I have a foundation here to work into as I do my ribbing trim, just like we did our sleeves. So for the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing as the sleeves. I'm going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and in each chain across for 10 single crochet stitches. All right, and then I'm going to work 1 slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. And that's my row 1, chain 1 for row 2, turn my work 1 back loop only single crochet in each stitch across to the last stitch. And then in the last, we'll work it in both loops. Our last one will be 1 single crochet in both loops. And then row 3 is chain 1, turn 1 single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch across. So working our way back down. And then slip stitch in the next 2 stitches of the bottom. Row 4, chain 1, turn, repeat of row 2, so 1 back loop only single crochet in each stitch across to the last, and then 1 regular single crochet in the last stitch. And just like the sleeves, we are going to repeat rows 3 and 4 all the way around, and then join with slip stitches. Join our ends with slip stitches to complete it and fasten off. So I'm going to do that now off camera, and then I will show you the last step, which is our neckline trim. All right, we're ready to start our neckline trim. What we're going to do is take our yarn, and it says to join yarn to the last row of decreases on front panel facing right side, so the point of the V. So we are going to see here, we've got our decrease here, we've got one here, and then we're going to join to the next one. That is the point of our V. And it says for round 1 to chain 1 and to work 1 single crochet along the edge of each row around the entire neckline, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. So for this size, I'm going to need 104. That totals the back rows here. We've got our side stitches, our 21 side stitches that we skipped, and then our rows of decreases, and it's going to total 104. So I'm literally just going to do one single crochet in each, along the top of each row here. And then I do have some stitches on the side that I'll work in. That's 21 stitches, and then the same for the back. And you should have, for this size, a total of 104. Check your pattern to see how many stitches you need to have if you're doing a different size. So I'm going to do that now. All right, I'm at the back to the first stitch. I'm going to join with a slip stitch to my first stitch. And now for round 2, I am going to chain 1, and it says to do 1 back loop only single crochet in each stitch around. So these stitches that I've just created, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch around. Okay, we're back at the point, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch again to the first stitch. Now we're ready to do round 3. It says now you will create the rib trim. So round 3 says to chain 1 and do 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So I'm going to do both loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Like so. And then for round 4, I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. So I'm working back through those stitches, and it says to do 1 back loop only single crochet in each stitch across and slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then my last one I'm going to do in both loops. It does give that tip at the beginning of the trim, and a slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. So I'm working back where before I did my slip stitch to join. So I'm working in the last 2 stitches of the previous round, and I'm doing a slip stitch in the next 2. Okay, for row 5, I'm chaining 1, turn, and it says to do 1 back loop only in each stitch across. So I'm just working into the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, whoops, sorry, 5, 6, and 7. I did my last one in both loops. I'm not slip stitching to any stitches. It says to repeat rounds 4 through 5 around entire neckline. Once you've slip stitched in the last 2 single crochet of the neckline, repeat round 5 for 5 more rows. So we're going to leave like a little tail of ribbing to sew down over the front portion, which is right here. So I'm going to do that now. Let me do a few more rows with you just to give you an idea of how it's going to work. We're going to chain 1. This is a repeat of row 4. Row 4 is going to be facing the wrong side, if that's helpful to help you keep up with your repeats. Chain 1, turn 1 single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch. Once again, you can do the first and last stitch in both loops if you prefer to give it a nice clean edge. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one more. And then row 4, we slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. 5, 1 single crochet in the back loop only. And repeat that all the way around. So it's going to just go all the way around the entire neckline like so. So it's going to be a little slanted here, but it'll work itself out. And then we will get back here and we'll do a few more rows to overlap the trim we're doing here. So I'm going to do that now. I'll stop halfway through and show you what it looks like about once I get up here a little bit further, and then I'll show you how to do the end of the trim as well. Okay, so here is some progress we've made. We're just working our way up, and it'll go around and we'll finish over here. So this is what it looks like so far. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest, and then I'll show you how to do that extra little bit and sew it on and overlap it and all that. All right, I am gotten all the way to the last stitch. I've slip stitched twice into that stitch, and it tells me once I've done that, it says once you've slip stitched in the last 2 SC of neckline, repeat round 5 for 5 more rows. So round 5 is where we chain 1, turn, and do 1 back loop only in each stitch across. And I'm doing the last one in both loops. So we're going to do, that was 1. We're going to do that again. So we're not going to be slip stitching to anything. We're just chaining 1, turn, 1 back loop only in each across. And in this case, I'm going to do the last stitch in both loops each row, so that it looks nice and clean going forward. That's 2. Okay. And that is 5. So we've just got this little bit that we are going to connect here. All right, so now I'm going to fasten off, leaving a long tail for sewing, so a little bit longer than usual. And then I'm going to take a yarn needle. Got a yarn needle here. I'm going to use it to attach to the tail that I made. And alright, so what I'm going to do is line this up with that second row of single crochet stitches we did in the back loop only. And I am going to sort of whip stitch it to that row. I was doing it in just that back loop only, but I'm going to do it in both, just to give it some extra reinforcement so it doesn't pull or anything or snag. And I'm just sewing it to that round 2 that we did in the back loop only, like so, all the way across for the 7 stitches. And it will look like this. And then if you want to give it some extra reinforcement, you can do the other side, just so that is attached as well. Whoops. Until you get back to where it was already attached with the slip stitches, like so. And I'm going to stick this in the back to be weaved in. And there we go. That looks really nice. We have our neckline trim. I've got some ends to weave in. But our sweater is completed now with this neckline trim done. I just got to weave in my ends. I'll probably give it a little blocking, and I'll be ready to wear it. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.